Today, Sunday, 26th February, we culminate our 2023 Black History Month celebrations. Our last honoree for this year, 2023, is a God-fearing, beautiful woman who always speaks and behaves wisely as she witnessed for God. She is always available, willing, and dedicated to the things of God. Church, I speak of none other than the affable, the captivating, the effervescent Reverend Mrs. Eunice Griffin. On February 5th, 1928, Mr. Thomas Brooks and Miss Edith Freeman became parents of a tiny piece of heaven sent down to them in Webb's Ground, Gingerland, in the form of a beautiful baby girl, whom they named Eunice Ira Freeman. Eunice shared her childhood and her mom's love, time, special moments, and attention with her twin sister, Loris and Doris Freeman. Eunice grew and blossomed in the favor of God, all while she enjoyed her mother's delicacies like sweet potato and sprat, and she claims that the sprat helped to strengthen her. At an early age, she attended the St. George's Anglican Church and Sunday School. And as we all know, she is not one to sit passively by at church. So at the age of 12, she insisted that she wanted to join the choir, and she was allowed to. Being so passionate and on fire for the things of God, again, she approached her mother about being confirmed. Her mother did not act promptly on her request, so she politely approached the minister. And she recalls, man, he got on his horse and he rode to Gingerland to inquire of her parents concerning her character. She was later confirmed and became a member of the St. George's Anglican Church. School days. Reverend Griffin attended the Gingerland Elementary School, though the school in Zion was closer to her home. She began at junior standard and avidly remembers teachers like Miss Lucina James, Miss Edna Tyrrell, Miss Lizzie Hobson, and Miss Thelma Williams. She says, the first year she sat her 7th standard exams, she was unsuccessful. And this made her head teacher, Miss Christy O'Flaherty, very cross at her. And as a result, she was not allowed to go out at break time to play. She had to stay in class and study. Miss Flaherty, she claims, would also beat her for coming to school late. All this made Reverend Griffin even hungrier to achieve. So at home, she deprived herself the comforts of her bed and instead chose to throw a sheet and pillow on the floor along with her books and a Zulu lamp, where she studied in preparation for her second attempt of her exams. Wow, talk about dedication, huh? And with God's help, she was successful and was able to attain her 7th standard certificate. Now, we are all aware that school days are not complete without a little drama and a little rough tumble along the way. And our dear sister was unable to fight and defend herself. But she claims thanks to God for her close friend and confidant, the late Mrs. Rohalia Webb Esdale, who she says was like a roaring lion, always ready to defend and protect her. Upon completion of school, the lovely damsel was sent to learn sewing by a tailor. The tailor was sternly warned by her mother, "Do not interfere with Eunice." After this, our Reverend pursued the noble career of nursing. She sat and passed the entrance nursing exam, and there her nursing career began. She recalls delivering babies and especially the cutting of the umbilical cords being her most memorable moments as a nurse. This nursing career, though, was short-lived. As a fellow villager, Mr. Thomas D. Griffin took her hand and her heart in marriage, and thereafter they both migrated to Curacao. Life in Curacao, she explained, was great. So great that she remembered one day going out into the yard singing, "I have reached the land of corn and wine, and all his glory freely mine." Her husband scolded her, saying, "Eunice, no, this is not the land of corn and wine." At this point in her life, Eunice was young, beautiful, happy, and in love with her Jesus and her husband. So in love with Jesus that it was at this time that she began preaching with her husband at a little church in the countryside. Reverend Griffin solemnly recalls one day while traveling on a boat in Curacao, the Lord said to her, "Eunice, you have not chosen me, but I have chosen you." This, she later realized, was a line taken from John chapter 15 and verse 16, and it reads, "Yea, ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit shall remain, that whatsoever ye ask of the Lord in my name, he may give it to you." And with this in her heart, she fully realized she had to wholeheartedly serve the Lord. During the 10 years she lived in Curacao, she gave birth to 4 of her 6 children, Timothy, Stanley, Shirley, and Carolyn. She then gleefully laughed and said, "And Agnes was conceived in Curacao too, but she was born in Nevis. And David was born in St. Kitts." On her return to the Federation, her ministry work intensified, as she would often ask herself, like the songwriter, "I wonder, have I done my best for Jesus when he would have done so much for me?" Reverend Griffin have preached in almost every church and village in the Federation, including the Anglican Methodist Church of God and Roman Catholic churches. She would have ministered the word regionally across the Caribbean in islands like Saba, St. Martin, St. Croix, and Antigua. internationally in places like Canada and England. One would think that she's out there laboring in God's vineyard and life would be smooth. But oh no, the trials and testings followed. She even recalls one day while walking to church in Canada, a Frenchman almost kidnapped her. She recollected upon her return to Nevis from Canada, she was sharing her testimony about this incident. And Brother Bobo Walter stood to his feet and said, Sister Eunice, that same morning, I was in Gingerland Mountain tending my animals, and all of a sudden, there was Eunice in front of me. And he said, he exclaimed, my God, what happened to Eunice in Canada now? And with that, he began to passionately pray that God would keep her safe. The Reverend is indeed living a life of knowing God and making him known. Even though the Reverend was so actively involved in ministry, she was equally as active at home, taking care of her husband and 6 children. She had to wash, cook, clean, starch, and iron. She enjoyed cooking immensely, she says. She enjoyed making Johnny cakes and sugar cakes, not forgetting baking bread and coconut tarts, for she always wanted her family to be well fed and also having a surplus to share to her neighbors. Her family was also always neatly attired, as she enjoyed sewing and knitting. She sweetly blushed as she recalls sewing her daughter Shirley's wedding dress. John 12 and verse 26. If any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Father honor. This sister has served and is still serving, because at any time we can show up at her home for counseling, prayer, or just a lively moment. Mrs. Griffin meticulously served in numerous positions in this church as well as the district. The Reverend became a licensed minister in 1964, an ordained minister in 1970, and a superannuated minister in 1996 to present. She would have served on many boards, including District Board of Review from 1973 to 2010, District Board of Ministering Standard and Ministerial Development for 3 years, District Reception Committee for 4 years, District Honor and Memorial Committee for 2 years, District Memorial Committee 6 years, District Secretary of Evangelism and Extension and World Mission for 6 years. Deuteronomy 5:33. Ye shall walk in all the ways which the Lord your God hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess. Indeed, this must be true about our dear sister, because at the age of 94, and as active and alert as she is, this can only be as a result of God's blessings and favor towards her. Amen? Reverend Eunice Ira Griffin, on behalf of the pastor, Reverend Marcia Tomlinson, friends and followers of the Taylor Memorial Holiness Church, I say many thanks to you for your years of devoted and dedicated service to our church and the district. For serving on the numerous boards, we thank you. For those soul-searching sermons, God bless you. For the years of praying for others, we love you. For the counseling, loving, and listening, I thank you. The many meals you shared, may you never lack. May heaven be your final home. Thank you.